started, Bert. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, here we go. A 1 and a 2 and a chick on my chick.
Another day, another beginning of a long video. We're starting on the secondary hull and things that evolved with it. You can see I got some pieces for it right here. So on this stage, because it's the start of it, just kind of going through the initial plan of how do I want to go about it and what do I see and what I've heard on some of the issues. So first things you do is backtrack, clean your pieces, whatever. Dawn dish soap, wax degrease, cut off any sprue chunks. Where the only real sprue thing on this is that, and of course, clean and deburn any flash from the holes, from your windows, whatever. Just your basic prep. Way I'm going about on these parts here is basically just test fitting, no glue, tape. Just see how things fit. So if you see any issues, you know how to address them before you glue them. Something I did note. The first thing I did notice was, you kind of want to start pre-assembling pieces. Here's your bottom. Here's the other bottom. You only need one, so pick and choose the one you want. What I did notice, start from the bottom up, is when it comes with your sides, and you want to attach it to the bottom of your secondary hole, it just lays in a groove. There's no pins or anything like that. So to me, kind of like that issue right here is like, how do you keep it stable? You don't want to glue it and then find out it's too far off or whatever. And it's plastic. One end you're gonna have to kind of work to get it lined up, which I can see right here is it lines up pretty good. Here, maybe I'll show you this way. It lines up pretty good on the inside for the most part until you get to the front, and then there's kind of a gap right here. Well, you're gonna have to kind of manipulate it and force it in. Well, trying to do all that while it's all loose is going to be a pain in the. So the way I'm going to kind of go about it is the only thing I'm going to glue are these together, just these little supports. That way it'll have a little bit flex to work with and you're not fighting it as much, so you can just kind of place it in and then it'll be easier to manipulate because it's not going to go all over the place. So that's how I want to go about getting these three pieces almost connected as one. The other issue that I've heard about that I really wanted to check with is that there is a fit on Boyd's Trekwork channels. He kind of pointed out when it comes with the pylons and these stupid tabs right here. God, this is atrocious. I can't believe that Polar Lights is actually getting away with this. So, and this is on all four ends right here. So test fitting like so. It's in there tight as can be. It's sitting on there really tight as possible where it's supposed to go. Look at that gap. Just look at that. A huge step. It has to go down and it has to go in. This is bad. So what he recommends is really just cutting this off flush. What I think I'm going to do first is actually cut this part down so that way it lowers it closer, and then probably manipulate up here and brings it in. We'll get to that when we get to that phase. And it's on both, and And it's also on this one too as well, same issue. Now also for this one and the pylons on that, yes, there's issues with that too. You put this one in as tight as you can go, flush to it, you have that same step and that same huge gap. Oh my God, it's like, what? As of right now, to me, this is the biggest mod just to actually make it fit correctly, not to be custom, just to make it fit right. So that's a major issue that when it comes with these. Now let's just say that this has already been addressed and fixed. The way I'm going to go about this, of course, is have this complete and also have, that's the wrong side, goes over here, and have this one complete. Basically this, and this complete. And then make separate this, and this. So basically two halves, a top and a bottom. So when I go sandwich them in after wiring the lights done, this will sit on top. The nacelles is of course a whole different build, but it'll have its wires kind of pre-done over here. The neck itself will also be handled during this phase of the secondary hull. But that's easier to deal with. That's basically just cutting a hole and running the wires through here. So, but basically this is the priority. And so the first priority, I think, is actually just to kind of get the main part of the secondary hull together, which is these three pieces, so that way we can deal with the shuttle bay and the arboretum. So the mods I want to do first is going to have to deal with the photo etch pieces here. Unfortunately, just so I can get started on this, is I'm going to have to use that crappy Testors putty. I've ordered some more. I ordered perfect plastic putty, some other stuff, a whole bunch of different SMD lights because I want to do, you know, something different. I do have the Tenna Controls Mega Board kit with the lighting combos, but I think I want to swap some LEDs with SMDs in certain places here and there. And plus, if you know the intro of the first video of this series, is that, you know, I got two other 1000 kits to deal with, so I'm going to need extra LEDs anyways. So anyways, I have that stuff on order. The f***ing thing is that Amazon went to a whole new low. I pre-ordered them in advance because every now and then they say it'll be there in 2 weeks and it's not. Well, this time got the notification, hey, it's delivered. It was delivered to another address halfway across the country. Son of a bitch. Luckily, I know the person that it went to. You know, they were nice enough to send it UPS back next day. Well, the way Amazon likes to run their bullshit is that it has to go to them. They have to open it up. They have to put it back on the shelves, and then they'll credit it in my account so I can reorder everything. Wait another 2 weeks when it'll be there. Find out that it's late again, and then it'll be another 2 weeks, and then hopefully they'll deliver to the right address. So you're looking at over a month out, and that's when they actually arrived and when they get it. They still haven't got it yet. This was 3 days ago in my world. When the smartest thing to do is like, hey, yeah, we have it, everything checks out, new shipping label, boom. That would have been the logical, smartest, common sense, IQ above a potato would figure that out. But this is Amazon, this is Jeff Bezos. That's why his Blue Origin company lags and sucks. And it's a shame that he has the actual studio model of this in his lobby. Anyways, so I'm going to have to reorder all that stuff through eBay. Through eBay stores, from anyone who has it in the United States, because a lot of them you find that it ships from China. I ain't getting shipped from China. One, well, basically it takes too long. Well, anyways, so in order for me to actually kind of do something, so hopefully stuff as I'm doing this will arrive. Most of it's electronics, other than the putty that I really needed and some very fine line tape for some other specific masking jobs on this. I guess the only thing I can actually use right now is that Testor's putty. Don't want to. Don't really want to. But it is what it is. So, I guess after a transition, I'm going to start working on this. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do with the whole secondary hole is put in the photo etch piece over here. Which is already going to say, I already did one side. So that way I know what the heck to share with you on what I learned. It's actually pretty easy, especially if you go back and do it the Boyd way. Piece of tape. And then you want to tape in front of it. Get it like nice and taut. Like so. So that way you have the back here. Get your photo etch piece if you're using it. If you're using the kit, then I guess this part here is not any help to you at all. On the photo etch piece, there's actually they're both kind of clear. Ugh. Sorry. On the photo etch piece, there's a curved edge and a pretty straight edge. The curved edge goes on the bottom. So basically, since you got your tape on there, just lay your photo etch piece in it. Press it into the tape. Check to make sure. Because of the tape, it'll be flush on the outside. Now on this part, I'm using the extra thin CA glue, super thin actually. It's very runny, but that's no big deal. So basically, just pour a little bit on there. Since it's thin, I like to kind of swash it around, kind of onto the sides and on the bottom, then just let the excess go down here. Close this up. Get your CA kicker, or let it sit for a while. Give it a spritz. Give it a few seconds to set up so I can tell you how much, again, I hate Amazon. I do hate Amazon. They're the reason why I'm doing this next step right now. Still using this junk. Okay, so now carefully peel the tape away. Now, since you're swashing the glue, the CA glue, you'll probably have some of it in the windows, like I have right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but yeah, you can see it. So with that, you just get out your X-Acto, hobby knife, whatever, and just kind of clean it off. Just scrape and clean it. No big deal. I wouldn't recommend using the stuff to make in a window. Can if you want to, I guess. And just clean off a lot of the extra little bits. Okay, happy with that. Now that method does work pretty well, because on the outside here it's pretty flush already, but you still need to do some little putty work. I hate this stuff. Like I said, it's only good for like bullshit areas. This I wouldn't really consider bullshit, but yeah, I guess I'll make it work. Now, I'm kind of learning with this crap, you kind of have to treat it like Bondo, because for some reason it likes to come out part putty, part oil. So in that case, you might have to like mix it around a little bit. I'm just gonna use my fingertip, and it takes longer to dry. So I'm putting it on there. I'm actually putting it on there a little extra heavy, because putties and stuff like to shrink a little as it dries. So this way there'll be just plenty on there. Hey, that's really all there is to it on that. So the only thing I left to do is to let it all dry. Let it all kind of dry for me overnight because of this kind of stuff, which is fine. And then we just start sanding it. One thing I did notice, because after you go ahead and put the next piece on, is this the right side? I believe it is. Of course, all that little dumb extra work. It's a good way to actually test fit this one right now. Like I said, this is going to be a fight just because there's no pins just to kind of put it on. Come on, you little bastard. Guess what I'm trying to actually see what I mean on. Really got to take the other piece and kind of put it together just to make it easier. What I did kind of notice though, when I did the other one, other than I'm fighting this one a lot, is that, well, this one's actually not that bad, but there is like daylight, a little bit of a gap on the top that you're going to kind of have to deal with after when you're ready to put this in. Just more putty work between here and there, but the gap looks kind of a little bit big, so I think when we get into that part I'll probably use like the extra thick CA glue as kind of filler on the inside and then use putty on the outside. So anyways, this stuff has to dry totally. We'll sand it, and I think after that, after that, going to have to modify this stuff because it'll be easier just to deal with that already done than after this is already kind of put in place and then trying to modify it when it's kind of somewhat put together. It's easier to modify it like as is. So set this aside and deal with that later, and probably kind of deal with this stuff. Okay, so now I think it's time to actually kind of modify these little nubs here to get this to fit, so that way this will be out of the way and taken care of, so we can actually work on this for our secondary hole. So I think the first thing actually I want to try and do is actually start up on the high spots, these high areas first, and just kind of grind them down maybe half the distance to flush. Let's see, I'm going to use one of these, put it on a low speed, I guess. Actually, go a little higher than that, maybe medium. See how this works. Okay. Of course, it's grinding them off. It's actually kind of like burnt plastic. Do a test fit. See what it does. See how it looks. See if I can get it in here somehow. Oh wow. Huh. Oh wow, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, okay. That works. That works beautifully. Here, check it out. Just hold it in place. I mean, and it actually still sits nice and neat on the bigger part of it. So what I'm going to say to do is to grind the high spot down to the thickness of this, and that should be perfect as far as how this goes. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, okay. So for me, I just got to do the other one, and then we can just deal with these pieces here, and then get them ready for the bottom part of the secondary hull. But of course, you still got to deal with the Arboretum windows. Okay, so that's on the next scene. Okay, we're back. It's time to clean up this junk. So I'm gonna clean out the little excess around the windows first. This little bullshit. Okay. Now grab me some 320, and I like to use sand block whenever I can. This is like a soft pad sanding block, good for wet sanding stuff. You can do it by hand if you want, but I just prefer this. And I gotta be careful, there's a little detail right there I don't want to sand off. So it's just painstaking sanding. And I'm using 320 initially to start. Eventually this whole thing is going to get knocked down to probably like about 800, just to scuff it up before any type of before I do the adhesion promoter, just to give that something to grab to as well. As much surface prep as you can for paint is always better. I mean, this adhesion promoter can probably do it without even me scuffing this up, as long as it's nice and perfectly clean. But you know what, let's just do what we can for a good adhesion, especially for the type of paints that I'm using. Again, I'm trying to prove a point on when it comes to paint here. Like, you don't need the really expensive stuff. Heck, maybe the next build I'll do this in paint markers and Sharpies. Boy, that would be something to see. Yeah, sanding is tedious, but you know, pay attention to the details. Use a fresher part of paper. And I know I'm happy with it when I don't really see any of the putty stuff on the plastic. It's really just to fill in between the photo etch and the plastic. Plus, block sanding on this it's really pretty much making sure to make sure that it's level. Because you can do it with your hand if you want. I mean, this is just a small little thing. I don't think anybody will notice, the detail. But if you block sanding will pretty much almost guarantee that it's flush and level. And for now, I'm just going over this with just the 320 part. We'll do the rest of it when we get close to putting some paint on, because that's when this whole thing needs to be prepped. But right now, let's just deal with this section first. Just do a little feel. I think that's good. Good. So it should look like that. I already did the other side just to make sure I know what the I'm doing. So for now, you set this one aside. We got a couple other mods to do when it comes with these. Other than doing this mod, which was kind of more important, one other mod is we got to redo this spotlight hole over here. It is way off. So if I just take my pin vise, which the bit already has the same diameter as these holes, and just put it in on the direction where it's supposed to be aimed at, you know, the spotlight is supposed to go up the pylon. This is how it wants to be aimed. Out into no man's land. We can't do that. This spot needs to go up the pylon, up that. So what I'm gonna want to do is I want to fill this hole and kind of start over, but I don't want to use like the white putty because I still want to see it on where to put the new hole. So I'm going to use some extra thick CA glue as a filler, because you can use it as a filler. So I'm gonna put an amount in there, but not try to make it too messy on the outside. Let it run in, and also on the back side as well. And plus, I can hit some kicker on this and I can get to work immediately. Fillers, I would have to wait even longer. So there you go, we got some kicker on that. Yes. I got a little hump in there, so I'm going to just kind of flatten that down so I can just make the redoing the hole easier. I think I'll just use my hobby knife and just cut it off. It actually exposed some undried glue. Just redo that. Just capped it off. Okay. Knock down this nub. Now, we're going to have to re-aim a new hole. So, basically, you know, this is the same diameter as all the other holes and it itself, but it's going to be a real pain just to start it on this. So, I'm just going to start with a small pilot hole. Use, you know, out of this set here, like I showed in the last video of the shuttle bay. I'm just going to kind of start it at the top of the hole, but kind of like at an angle where it's where the hole should go. You got it still wet in there. Interesting. Well, let's just kind of get it going anyways. All right. I don't want to ruin this. I'm going to kind of wipe it off. So that's one really small pilot hole. For this, I'm just going to work my way up to a small size. Now I grabbed like the largest one in my set over there. Just continue on. Working it through. There we go. All right, that one is done. Now I can go with this one. And just also visualize kind of where it goes. Now in the end, by the time I start lighting this, this hole may end up becoming bigger, but I'm kind of using the same diameter as the original, as a kind of like a baseline. I mean, at this point it's just redoing the angle. Okay. Clean up the flashing from the drone. Push it through again just to clean up some more. Same thing on the other side. And what I want to do is also, I got a little round file, then as I can, I'm going to take it from this side and just kind of bore out just a little bit on the inside, just for LED purposes. I'm not trying to make it wider on the outside, but on the end, put in here, but I add a bit of that. But it's just so I can get, you know, more easier to work with. See what I'm doing. There we go. A re-angled light. Here, we'll just put the pylon on it, and here, I'll actually just kind of, I wonder if I can use that. I wish I had a stick. Here, maybe we'll just do it like this. Okay. It's like that. Pylon goes like that, so that's the way it should go. It's definitely not hanging out here, that's for sure. I don't know what the f they were thinking on that. Just like everything involved in the pylons is like, I don't know what the f you're thinking. So that mod is done. Here's another mod that you don't really see kind of done. There, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a screenshot of some of these things. There is a light. Let me see if I use a better point. There is a light that usually comes out here and in here. Now, you can do the, if you're not going to use the photo etch part, the little circle that goes over this, you can do it pretty much the same. You can, the way you could do it with one of these. And if you just go like, just right in there and just do a really fine angle, because you can't go straight down. You gotta go at a fine angle so you can get the light to going from this way and then this way out through over there. You could, you know, bore out like a few small holes and clean it up with your hobby knife on both sides, and you'll have that. But if you do that and you use the photo etch little part that goes over this, that photo etch plus the little ring that goes on top of that photo etch basically makes all this flush, and there's no way to actually get a light through here. But you can do it, and know how I know is because I did it right here. There is a, it's because there's no light blocking, it's kind of really kind of pointless for me to shine a light through it, but I do have small lit holes on each side, which I don't know if you can see over here, but there are holes over there. How did I accomplish that? Well, we got to get rid of this airlock. We need this exact same diameter. I thought about using a drill bit with the exact same diameter, but because points of drill bits are like this, you have to be dead center, or if you're barely off, you're going to be off skew, and next thing you know, you're not perfect with this. So what I end up doing, a little more tedious, I just took a rotary wannabe Dremel, a little grinding nub on a medium speed, and I started to grind away. But first I ended up just making like a little starter hole just to make it easier for me to start that, because it can walk and go somewhere else. And that's also got to be careful with rotary tools. It can walk, and then next thing you know, you're marring up here, which won't be a problem, because that's what putty's for. So it can be fixed, but just letting you know, it can walk. I wonder if I need a new drill bit on this thing. This one's getting dull. There it goes. So this is where it takes a little patience. Sometimes you gotta do it with both hands, because you gotta see the whole thing. He almost walked on me on that one too. Okay, clean up my flashing. Same little file tool. And just kind of boring it a little bit, just to make the circle a little bit better. Because remember, you have most of the circle is already there as a guide. You just want to clean up the inside. So the hole is nice and clean and bored out. So if you were paying attention to how we did the Arboretum windows, is how we're going to do that. So same way, put a piece of tape, backside. Now we're going to have to put our little photo etch, little doorway in it. Now the tricky part is this little dumb ring. I just go ahead and just place that on top of it anyways, before any glue. And this is just as flimsy as the shuttle bay railing. And I kind of wish Paragraphics would have made some extra ones of these along with the railing, because they're so flimsy, so small, and it's so easy to get lost. So it'd be nice to have extra, in case any of you guys from Paragraphics are actually seeing this. I don't know why. My channel's not that popular. Anyways, some thin CA glue, just gonna pour some of it in there. Naturally gonna want to flood, like a little bit too much. But the thin CA flows into places, obviously, where it needs to go that I can't push it in. So I'm just gonna take a little paper towel just to suck up any excess. And I see a little bit of the ring still popping up. Let me push that down. And kick it for love. huh? Now we can go ahead and gently pull the backing tape off. There, now we got a photo etch piece in there. Now we need to make holes for the lights. Just like I kind of explained before, if you're not going to use it, I'm just taking a larger bit, the larger one in this type of set, which is probably like barely a 16th. Same way, kind of going dead center, and I'm keeping it at a very shallow angle, right on top of the photo etch, and just kind of putting a hole in it. Oh, fly tried going my nose. I hate summer. Flies find their way in my garage as soon as I open the door. There we go. Tricky part's just getting it started. Just showing you kind of at an angle like that. So it breaks through. There, broke through. We'll do the other side. Yeah, that one went easier. And there we go. Now, just for fun, kind of want to do the same thing like I did with the pylon lights. It's just take my little file here and work at it from the back side. But kind of gently. I don't want to bust out my, my photo etch part, even though it's in there pretty good. But I just need a little, for this scale, just a small little hole on each end. Which I do have. I don't think you're going to be able to see it that great until we actually light this puppy up. But it's there. So now we got that done. I want to go ahead and just like I explained earlier, I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces, the two support pieces here and here together, let that sit, and figure out what the hell I'm going to do next. So I got this glued in. It's not totally 100% set, just enough to kind of hold it a little bit. So the reason why is so I can go ahead and put this on top of this. So just gonna go ahead and put some glue where it goes. And I'm actually giving it like a generous amount. Doesn't want to squeeze out that grate in this little thing. We got it in the channel on there, and I want to add some here. Okay. For me, I notice it kind of fits best to start from the back forward. And I noticed this side kind of, I believe it's the side that fits the best. Or is it this side? Well, either way. It's going to be a little bit of a fight. Now I'm going to take my tape. If it feels good, I'm going to secure it. Let's go over here. Sure I got a good fit. Here. Trying to avoid much steps as I can. Over here really needs some work. Go. Here. And get this fantail taken care of. Nice tight fit there. Maybe a little bit on this one. Okay. We have a secondary hull starting to be glued in place. So, at least this way I can actually kind of go through and kind of see what I need to do to get the shuttle bay in. Maybe even see how, if I should put this in. I think no. That's probably what I really should do next while this sets up, is to finalize, see what I need to do about this stuff. So that's what's coming up now. These little things are the tractor beam emitters, as that's what they're called. Basically, what I'm going to do here is just there on this polar light set. There's like 3 grooves here on each one. Those are the only spot where there's supposed to be light that's coming through. In reality, if you look at the more screenshots of the studio model, there is 4. I could attempt a way to make one up here, but I'm not going to. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of scrape the paint away on these 3 ones. It would be a lot harder to mask it for how small it is. It would be just easy to take this thing and just clean it up. And then on the other side, we'll paint like the blue Tamiya underneath it. And same thing with this piece right here. This goes above the fantail. And just going to paint the inside of it with the red Tamiya. So let me get set up and we'll do some scraping. So I'm going to use my favorite little tool here. Actually, I need my special visor goggle thingy. Little magnifying headpiece. Which I may even have to use the second one. Yeah, this method is much easier than trying to mask this little groove here. Okay. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Crap, with my lens. I need to reorientate myself. Pulling the paint away. Now, just going to take this one off. Got it through the light. See what I got. Pretty close. Fine. The reason why I put this white paper towel underneath it, so it kind of like shows something, like, so I can kind of see through it better than a dark, you know, background. So it kind of like, so I can roughly see what it looks like. And if you make a mess, just take a very thin, super fine paintbrush and just do like a little dot. This one's actually pretty damn good. That's it for that one. Now, get my blue Tamiya out. Kind of load it in. I can see behind it on where it goes. All right, I'll let that one dry. Now I gotta clean, and then we'll do some red in the other piece. Okay, time to get some transparent red Mia. Really, this is the only thing that, supposedly the only thing I need this for. Yeah, I'm only going to do it on the inside. Let me see it. And this, I have to load it up. Okay, just going to kind of let it, if I can let it rest up. Let me see. Go this way somewhere. Need to prop this up, so only reason why I just wanted to kind of pull a little bit. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna let those two pieces dry. And probably, well, I gotta wait for like the fantail to dry. Of course, the glue on the secondary hole needs to dry. I guess we'll probably just deal with some of the pylons on the upper part of the secondary hole, except for that one. So now, while some of the paint is drying of the little parts, what we can kind of do now is also modify this. Just like on this one, we have the same issue going on with the same dumb pins. Fit alignment. So same thing. I'm gonna grind down about halfway. Get a better angle at this. Let's see what we have here. Yes, like a glove. Do the other side, same method. Halfway down. Clean up the mess. Let's see what we have here. Oh yeah. So they all should fit like that. So you kind of want to, if you can see it, make it look like that. And then you should have no problem. So that's really it for the mod on this. I'm not going to really attach these now. I mean, I could have, but I'm going to end up probably having to put some strip lighting on here for the shuttle bay or whatever. So I kind of want to, I'll just deal with that part later. I like to bag my sections or what I'm doing. So Let's see. So I guess what we kind of do now, I mean, this should be set up enough. Bleh. But let's double check fitness while I can, just to show you everything's actually looking pretty good. Even with how it's all lining up here and here. So far, it's lining up pretty good. So, stoked about that. What I can see through the tape here, there's a little bit of a step from joining these together. It's a little bit. Going to have to kind of, you know, of course, do some sanding down and a little bit of putty work. So that's what we're going to plan on doing next, is addressing this, making sure this is good. So now we got to deal with the stupid step from this glue line, and between the photo etch and onto the top piece that we glued, there is a thin gap. I don't want to do it with putty. The only reason why I think it's just a little bit too big for putty. It could flake out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some extra thick CA glue, use that as a filler, and plus I can work with it really quick, and it actually, you know, gives more of the photo etch part something to adhere to. Instead of 3 sides, now it has 4. So I'm using the thick to fill in, and a little bit over here as well, making sure it runs in. Give it a kick in the And plus, anyways, we'll have to deal with sanding right here anyways. So we'll just sand off the extra CA and just kind of use it as a half filler, really. Oh, little junk right there. Before, so because there is, you know, a couple little fine nubs right here, I don't want to sand them off by just working this whole thing. So I'm just going to get a piece of tape. Come here, you little bastard. And I'm just going to tape a little bit to where I want to sand, so I don't really mess up over here. It's high on this end and low over here, so it's got the lip up here. And as you go, what you want to feel for is kind of like how the, you know, how the panel lines feel when you run your finger on it. It should feel the same going this way. Over here, it just barely goes over, and over here, it wants to grab. So, got my curved sander block, again with some 320. I also got a couple of nubs here just to pay attention to. And it looks like the worst of it is like right in here, so I'm gonna spend more time here. Kind of going into it. And 320 is really just for shaping and filing down. I'd be finishing this off with 800 before I spray anything on it. So I gotta work my way to 800. 300 to 400 to 600 to 800. Because this will leave a bunch of scratches, standing scratches that you'll see through the paint. And it cleans up some of the glue for when we put the top half, or the middle, more like the middle piece. I consider this the bottom, the middle, and the top that goes up in here. And there's a couple areas I'm going to have to rescribe a panel line, like right here. No big deal. You can probably do it with my dental pick, because it's just model glue. Yeah. There it is. Plus, it's only been glued for about, I don't know, about 6 hours. It's enough just to hold it. I mean, it's not fully cured, but the glue is kind of a little bit soft. I can just drag a little bit of it out. But it ain't going nowhere. Paper. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it either, because it's only plastic. It'll just break right through. Basically the gist of it, you know, just kind of smoothing it down, just roughly like right about here. Like I said, just take your finger, put it over a panel line right here, and it should match going this way. And that's about where I need to go. So I'm going to finish this part off camera, because, you know, my camera here likes to overheat, because it's freaking July as the time of recording this in a heat wave. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and when we come back, well, I don't know, I haven't figured that out yet, but trust me, I'm going to be back, and you'll be here too. So, viewers of this video, let's talk about some more modifications of this in order to move forward. Basically, like I explained before, this to me is kind of the foundation for the whole model, because the pylons and the warp nacelles attached to this, and the saucer and the neck attached to this, and the base will attach to this. So in some way or form, everything attaches to this. And at this point, because now we're working with the model itself, is like, you got to think about wire and where is it going to go through, especially when it comes with routing all the stuff to the base. You ain't going to put the switches on here, because the board I'm using, the Mega board, has like 4 switches, even though I don't think I'm going to use the phaser one. I think I'm going to skip out on that one, but I'll probably use the photon one. I originally wanted to put the control board, in fact, let me pop it out. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I wanted to put it in the saucer, because it's more likely this thing won't fail, and it's like, it's not often you need to change things out. But if you look at this Mega board, look at all this wire in here. Roughly, when you bunch it all together, it's about a 1/2 inch of thickness of wire in it. And this is some thin gauge stuff. I think this may be 24, because I got some 30, and it seems that, and my 30 gauge wire seems a little bit thinner. But like I said, I wanted to put it through the saucer, but there's only so much room you could put in the neck, and only like about 1 or 2 of these would remain in the saucer itself. So it's not going to really do much. Plus, you would have to have power go up through it and back up the neck to get to this, so it kind of balances itself out. You still have this bunch of wires. I thought about even putting it in here, and the only spot that I could think of putting it in is after, when this is in place, first I thought, hey, maybe right here, but then you got this post here, which I cut out, because that's really the only way to get this in here. Is this thing could theoretically sit nice right here, and then you could just, you know, whatever has to go here will go up here and here and there's. But you lose out on lighting your shuttle bay, and then it kind of pushes it a little bit too high. But if you wanted to do it, maybe you could put strip lining like directly on top of this and then set it in here and raise it a bit. You know, that might work, but that's just what it has to be. Like I said, I thought about putting it in here, but when you put the Arboretum, it sits right up on here, and then it just makes this too high, and that won't work. So what I really didn't want to do, but I think I'm going to have to do, just because the wiring is just so bunched up, is this is going to have to go into the base. A lot of people are doing the base. I kind of didn't want to, but it is what it is. So, which at that, now you got to figure out, okay, you need a tube to run this thick amount of wiring in. You know, I went shopping through, you know, my local Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff, going into like where they sell lamps. You know, they have lamp build kits and stuff where it have like the brass threaded rod where you run like, you know, your power core through. But and most you can find is that I was able to find was only of a 1/4 inch diameter, too thin for this, and only this long. And then, you know, and then I started like experimenting in the plumbing section, looking at all their fit-ins and some of their smallest pipes, even down to copper, and it was just still not working right. I almost, here, let me show you. I almost settled on PVC because it's plastic, and I found this irrigation pipe. It's about a 1/2 inch inner diameter and just got a little PVC threaded thing. What I could have done here is, now on the model kit it wants you to put on the deflector dish, and like I didn't want to do that. I want to save that for last. And here I would have to mod this here, make a hole big enough for this right here, and cut this down and do it that way. Then I got lucky. I had something in my own house here that I was able to cannibalize, and maybe you have too. In fact, it won't be hard to find for free. If any of you know what I'm talking about, if you have one of those lamps, those stand-up corner lamps where it's just a thin rod, it's usually disassembled in rods about these pieces, and you know, the top of it looks like this, you know, aims at the ceiling. I had like 2 of them sitting on my Raptors that we don't use anymore, and so I looked at it and I disassembled it, and God, I have like 5 of these, which has a 1/2 inch diameter, multiple threads which I can remove and move around, and oh, where that little PVC pipe go? Oh yeah, obviously big difference. I don't have to use this bulky thing. Heck of a lot nicer too, and it's in black, which I wanted to do anyways. So, and obviously you can find those things anywhere. People throw them out and give them away for free on your internet classifieds, and heck, you probably have one that you don't even need anymore either, or the base got bent and you got a bunch of these lying around. So I just cannibalized it, kept a couple of these, who knows, for future projects, and got that solved. So one of the things I got to do is, you know, put a hole to the same diameter as this, epoxy this in on the inside, trying to keep it low as possible, because you don't want to go higher than this, because this is where your Arboretum goes. You can't have it too high, but you need some clearance to run cables through. So I need to keep that as low as possible. The other mods is for fitment of stuff. The shuttle bay, you're going to have to grind off the 2 nubs back here if you want it to fit into the fantail, because there will be a gap. If you don't do that and you try to set it in on there, you'll have like about a 1/16 of an inch gap. But if you want to actually hit it nice and flush, remove the tab and push it back. Same thing with a little nub that's in the center that usually goes right here on this guy. You need to get that off too, because then it'll be cacked up. down here, these two supports are typically flush just because the Arboretum sits on it. But if you go to my Arboretum build, where I have like an LED, I have an LED meant for that little dome pedestal on the inside. Well, where it happened to land is directly smack dead on here. So I needed to clear out a channel just for the LED, that one LED and the wires to go through. So I hogged that out with my little rotary tool. So I just sanded that down. And I also did one over here, which turns out I really didn't need to, only because I was thinking of the wiring that I need to do for the turbo lifts back here, because I'm going to do 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. And those 2 on the bottom I was thinking would have to run underneath. Actuality, it doesn't, because there is a space open on the top where it could actually go down through here and meet anything in here. So this was unnecessary. You don't really have to do that. This is my learning curve, my mistake, but structurally it's not a big deal. I was thinking about grinding down these squares on these 4 phaser emitters, because on the studio model they're not raised at all, only just the domes are there, which I will be doing for the saucer because those are pretty big. But this one here is so minute, I'm just going to leave those. It's really unnecessary to do that on this one. What else kind of mods that I can say about? I think that's it, unless something that just eludes my mind right now, and we'll get into it on the build. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up to doing some extra mods. Basically, what I'll go ahead and actually do off camera, it's pretty simple enough, is I just got to put a hole here on this one, like I said, and epoxy the nut on here, keep it low as possible. And I already cut this off and I have it saved. You do not want to lose that piece, which I think I just lost that piece. I'll find it. Oh wait, no, it's right here. You don't want to lose that, because you're going to have to put this back on after everything is in place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then it should be some light blocking for this. So now, obviously I got a base kind of here going on. This is just temporary, out of an old lamp like I explained earlier. But let me go ahead and show you the last little mods. Other thing to spit around. Mods before we actually start dealing with like the shuttle bay and all that stuff. Let me just deal with that. Okay, so as far as the hull goes, this is where I mounted it. I have it all epoxied in. Of course, in here has all been light blocked and painted white. I don't know if I showed you, I got the fantail glued in. All this stuff is going to have to be masked off. Of course, I already went ahead and re-scraped all the stuff where this is going to have to be set in. Did a little bit of customization on, there's supposed to be this little piece right here that goes right here where it has another navigation light. But if you noticed, there's a screenshot also in the motion picture. You see that there's also like a little flow lamp that comes out this way. So I had to do a little modification on this. Yes, I know I got dirty hands again. I've been painting black all day at work. This little piece here, is the fantail. What I did, I'm going to put a little, what is it, an 0805 SMD, whatever, it's a real small one. I had to make a little notch right here with a little file, so that way it would sit nice in here. And then put a third little hole in the middle is where I'm gonna run my little thin wires for it. It's the same SMDs I'm actually going to be using in the landing strip, but way back here because there's not much clearance right here. And all the other LEDs are too thick. It would probably won't sit flush, but these ones are so small, it should still sit flush. I finally got some of my Amazon bullshit in, so that was good. So I got a chance to test out some of the SolarRes, because I'm thinking about not using any of the kit glass for the windows. I did a little test on, the scrap one of these, just on a little crappy window, like right here, and it's like, I like it, pretty good. I even sanded over it, give it a little bit of diffusion. So I even tried it on some of the larger windows, so I just did these 3 here, so I'm experimenting with that, no big deal. A little hazy just because of the sanding and just trying to learn, the SolarRes stuff. But actually, I like how flush it is, and even if it looks a little cloudy from like sanding over it, and I'm sure even after fine sanding and probably putting some clear over it, it'll, just like any other time you sand over clear and you put an undercoat over it, kind of brings it more back to that see-throughness. I think it'll be fine. Even if not, it's okay, because these are really supposed to have light going out. You're not really supposed to go peekaboo, because all you're gonna see is all the dumb wiring, and kind of don't want to see that anyways. Oh, and in here for the Arboretum windows, I went ahead and use like the packaging plastic as explained earlier, as in the what was I using it for? Oh yeah, my plan to use for the officers lounge and that windows. So I used that in here, so that worked out pretty well. And I glued it with canopy glue because that stuff dries clear. I had to do a little cleaning out on the bottom edge, but that's no big deal either. And I went ahead and test fitted a lot of the stuff. I had to trim this down just a little bit more. The reason why is because I started like pre-planning my electrical for the shuttle bay, and the wiring I'm going to have for underneath the landing strip is this was just kind of be in the way. I just don't want any reason for it to be pushed up. Other than you saw me already notch these out. That's about it on this. Yes, this thing looks a little dirty, no big deal, because none of this hasn't been final sanded or anything. It's just straight plastic. So that's all going to be taken care of. Same thing with this one here, because all the work I've been doing is all on the inside. Oh yeah, I matched the diameter of these holes for these ones here, so I made them a little bit bigger, so that way they incorporate the same LED. The only thing I've really done on this was light block it, but I did notice this right here might be an issue. This thing here kind of presses down on the shuttle bay on that long strip of windows, like somewhere in the middle, and just because a lot of the wiring I'm going to be doing with it, basically mostly because of the sequential landing, the way I'm going to do this one. I'm going to kind of do my own version on that one. I'll explain that when we start going into the shuttle bay. But I'm kind of worried that this might block some of the lighting, because I'm going to actually want to put the strip lighting on here to help kind of light that section of the shuttle bay, and this might just cause a shadow, and it might even press down some of the wiring, depending on how I do it. So there's a possibility I'm going to have to trim this down, even take the whole thing off, or notch it in a way. I don't know yet. That's another bridge we have to cross when this piece is kind of ready to go in. So with that, I'm going to end this video here as part A of a part 5. I believe this is where we're at on this, and then it will be part 5 version 2, secondary hole, getting the lighting done in here, basically. So I'm going to end the video right here because it's hot in this room.